Well, by popular demand, this is the first part of a double upload today, a transfer special and the Community Shield. Let's get this episode to 100 likes as quick as we can. As soon as it hits 100 likes, the second part of the double upload will release, or, it'll be out at about 9 o'clock if no one likes this one. But be positive! Hello and welcome to Season 16, Episode 1 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev and this is the transfer special by popular demand. And we've got the Community Shield against Chelsea coming up as well. Normally, Community Shield, nothing to be interested in. But when it's against Chelsea, it's quite an interesting barometer of how far we've come since the end of last season. So, as you are all aware, we were given a £300 million transfer kitty to play with over this summer. And as you can see, we've spent it all. So let's have a look at who's come in, who's gone out. There's a familiar face who's returned. But we'll start with who's left the club. There's not any massively significant outs. We sold Andre to Newcastle for £14 million because, as you'll see in a minute, we brought in some more than adequate replacements for him in central midfield. Paul Jackson was a centre-back who we had. He was a thing, apparently. He's gone to Spurs for like £6 million. Again, I didn't know he existed. So when they came in and offered £6 million, I just sort of chuckled and took the money. Jaffa Gassemi, he's gone as well to Lyon for £2.6 million. He was backup of the right back. And Javero Dirilson has gone to Besiktas for £1 million. The other significant out was that Raheem Sterling has retired. It says he went on a free transfer, but he retired the next day, so his contract expired and he is no more. And then a few other players have gone out on loan, the most significant of which is Jeppe Christensen. Very nearly kept him at the club because he was the highest assist maker in the Premier League last season on loan at Newcastle. This close to keeping him around, but then I thought, we've got Ayrton. He's not going to get a game ahead of Ayrton. Let's send him out to Dortmund for a year in the Bundesliga, see if he can go and win that. He's obviously had very successful seasons in Spain and England, top flights over the last 2 years. Let's give him a season in Germany and bring him back next year when Ayrton's another year older, and hopefully he's going to be a real world beater. Looks like he's going to be a very useful addition to the right hand side of our attack. So the ins, I would do them in order normally, but obviously this is the one everyone wants to know about. Vladislav Lazarov has joined Manchester City for a much cheaper price than I expected to bring him in for as well. £55 million was the price we paid Ipswich for him in the end, which has allowed Ipswich to have some spending money as well. If we look at their transfer history quickly, they've gone out and splashed the cash a little bit. So, downside of all this is that Lazarov got himself injured immediately on arriving. So he comes in, much fanfare. In the press conference, I'm asked if I'm going to make him captain. I said, yeah, probably. Why wouldn't I? He's Lazarov. We've met him. But he's done his Achilles tendon and he's out till Christmas. So we're not going to get to see him in a Manchester City shirt just yet. But hopefully when he does burst through onto the team around about the turn of the year, we can get him back to this kind of form where he was getting 29 Premier League assists, as opposed to last season's form for Ipswich when he got 0 assists in the entire season. Or, I don't understand how Ryan Shawcross can break a player to that extent, but clearly he's really tactically tuned in to how Ipswich need to be. So Lazarov is in. Who else have we got? So the first one to come in was Ricardo Jans, 25-year-old Dutch international, comes in from Newcastle for a cut price, £26.5 million. He's been one of their key players for the last 2 seasons when they've been getting into the Champions League, but his contract was up at the end of the season, which is why we've been able to get him relatively cheaply. He will hopefully be one of 2 additions to the squad who's going to give us some much needed bite in the central midfield. He can actually tackle, he can move around a bit. Look at that, he's got strength of 20, he's 6'4", but he's still got 20 on his first touch as well. He's still a skillful player with a decent long shot on him. So just look at those stats. For £26 million and 25 years old, it seemed like a bit of a no-brainer. So Jans is in. We have a new centre-back as well, Murat. He's just going to be Murat because I don't know what that letter is. Is that an I? Who knows? 28-year-old Turkish international. A little bit older than ideally I would have selected for my new starting centre-back to be, but it was slim pickings for decent centre-backs. He's been playing at Schalke for the last however many years. Schalke have been doing really well in Germany. Again, Champions League every year. He's cost us 60 million quid. But he can now partner Ron Osborne in a back four that have Lazarov on one side, with Osborne and Murat in the middle, and that's going to look like a pretty decent back four. And again, massive improvement on what we had at the club before. This guy, Seydou Koulibaly, is the other central midfield beast that we've brought in. 27-year-old German international, 78 games for Germany already, 6'3". Again, tough tackling, strong, hard man in midfield. We've got two of them now. But the key is, although they're big brutes who can kick lumps out of the opposition when need be, they're also really skillful, talented footballers as well. We basically brought in a couple of Patrick Vieiras. That's the plan anyway. Stick two of them in midfield. The other first team player we brought in, or first team squad player, is Cesar Ortega, who comes in from Tottenham. 25-year-old Spanish player. He's not actually played for Spain yet. That's more to do with the fact that Spain are awesome than the fact that he's not very good. He's been at Spurs for the last 3 seasons, having joined for £39 million from Real Madrid. We've actually only picked him up for 32, so they've taken a bit of a loss on him, despite him being Spurs' leading striker for the last 3 seasons. Again, it was a situation where his contract was up at the end of the season, so we've been able to get him in a bit cheap. He's not going to be straight into our team as first choice striker, because obviously we've got João Roberto, but he's very much going to be our first choice backup, and we'll be pushing him for a starting spot. And the important thing is, he's only 25, whereas João Roberto's 30 or about to turn 30. So over the next year or 18 months or so, if this guy develops the way I hope he will, he could start to push past him into the starting spot in our team. Other than those guys, it's been a couple of players brought in for the future. The first of which, Sam Taylor, a 17-year-old English striker, comes in from Reading. It's £7.75 million up front. The add-ons could take this up to £26 million, which is ridiculous. I mean, for those add-ons to come in, where do we see add-ons? How can we see what's written into this? I don't even know where it is. But yeah, the value could go up to £26 million, but that's basically reliant on him being our top goal scorer, playing for England, winning the Champions League, etc., etc. He's a little bit different from our normal striker. He's a big man, but we brought him in because he was a 17-year-old English player who had 5-star potential according to our scouts. Not so much now he's here. The coaches reckon it's only 2.5 proper potential with another shaded out extra 1, so he's not quite the world beater I was hoping he was going to be, but we've really struggled to put together a squad of 25 players this season for the Premier League because we don't have 8 players who've been trained in England who are English, so we needed to bring in some young English talent, and this seemed to be the best young English striker out there. And then lastly, have we covered everyone else? I think we have. Last guy to come in, Remco Smith, 20-year-old Dutch midfield player. One for the future. He's not going to be coming straight into the team. We'll probably send him out on loan, but he's come in from Feyenoord, where he's been playing. Well, he played there last season. He's been around and about in Holland for a couple of years now. Not yet played for the full Dutch side, but looks like he's got bags of potential. A little bit more of a skillful player. We've brought in the 2 tough tackling monsters. This guy comes in just as a young, talented central midfield player who also has the potential to play in behind the striker as well. We've got a bit of a potential problem if Gilberto picks up an injury because we don't really have anyone else who can play in that attacking midfield position. Umpatu maybe. We could move people around, but this guy could potentially slot in there if needed, and crucially is under 21, so we can sort of draft him in with the whole squad issue that we mentioned before, where we haven't got enough players. We've only been able to name a squad of 22 players because we had to leave 3 gaps open because we didn't have enough English people. So because Smith is under 21, he can then effectively become part of that squad. So semi-panic buy when I realised I wasn't going to be able to fill out a squad. But he's got a good future ahead of him anyway. So should end up, hopefully, being a decent long-term purchase. So that means our squad looks a little bit like this. Not like that, because that squad is all over the place. Let's sort that more sensibly. Ideally, would have liked to have brought in another goalkeeper. Rafael Delgado was a panic buy last year. Isn't really that good as a backup for Donnarumma, but we couldn't really find anybody. Again, I would have liked to have brought in probably one more centre-back. Rodrigo Guerra wants to leave. We've not been able to let him go because we don't have a backup option really at centre-back. But he's 24 now. He's already played 50 times for Uruguay. Can't really get in our team. And he's actually had to miss out on the Premier League squad. We might be able to squeeze him into the Champions League squad. I'm not sure how different the rules are. I think they're even tighter. But basically, he's not in our Premier League squad of 25. So we're basically stuck with Martelli as our backup to Osborne and Murat. And if we pick up another injury, Jairo Riedewald, who's our backup left back, can also play as a backup centre back. He's 33 years old, so not a long term solution, but he's been at Man City for years. And he will be playing today because Merteza is injured for a couple of weeks. He's done his knee ligaments. So we're without Lazarov and Merteza, our two starting first choice fullbacks for at least the first couple of weeks of the season, even longer when it comes to Lazarov. In midfield, in fact, let's just look at the team. We'll worry about, who else is in the squad. This is the team that we're playing against Chelsea. So in midfield, we are playing both Koulibaly and Jans to start the game. Bradford and or Wilkes might come in and get involved in that as the game goes on. Of course, Wilkes could deputise for Gilberto as well. Forgot about him. So we have got a bit more strength in depth in midfield now, as well as just more strength in midfield. Which was much needed off the back of last season. Because of the injury to Lazarov, we're playing Osborne at right back today. Sabri Medain is still at the club. He's still our captain, but he's getting a bit old now. He's 31. He's not really a long-term solution. He'll probably play the first league game at right back with Osborne moving back into the middle, but we'll try Martelli and Murat together today because the game doesn't really matter other than the fact we want to see if we've made up any ground on Chelsea. And then the front four is just last season's front four. You know these guys: Ayrton, Gilberto and Putu, and João Roberto up front. So let's go and play Chelsea and see if we've made up any ground on them from last year, or whether they're just going to batter us. What we're looking for today, really, as a sign of progress, is we want to control the midfield. Because we didn't ever really do that. We can get the result. We want to show our strength in midfield. We want to be getting some tackles in. We want to just be dominating that centre of the pitch and freeing the ball up for our front four to just do what they do. I have messed around with the squad numbers a little bit. Apologies for that. So Gilberto's got the number 8, for example, but some of the new players were coming in and being given squad numbers in the 40s because there's so many players at Man City. So I just cleared the lot and auto-selected new ones. So there's some silly ones in there, but I'm sure we'll all get used to them. Gilberto should be the number 8 anyway. He's our centre attacking midfielder. Right, I tell you what, look at those stats. 25 minutes in, Chelsea haven't had a shot yet, and we're controlling possession. This is a positive start. Nothing's been worthy of a highlight yet, but we're not losing yet. That's got to be a positive. I don't understand as well how Chelsea are dominating English football playing a 4-4-2. I don't understand. It goes against everything I've learnt about Football Manager over the last 20 years. Because aside from that first season of this save with Boston, I've never been able to get a 4-4-2 working properly in this game. I'm confused. Right, second half. Chelsea still haven't had a shot. This is intriguing. I don't know if this is just them playing badly, because we're not playing particularly well, because we're not having anything worthy of a highlight either. I don't know. Is it a good sign if we're just cancelling ourselves out? Does that mean we're as good as Chelsea now, maybe? It would be nice to go and nab a goal and just have the bragging rights of being able to say we beat them in the Community Shield. Let's bring Ortega on for his debut. And I'm going to bring Medain on for Martelli because Martelli's on a booking, and we just don't want to risk going down to 10 men. So we'll just move Osborne across into the middle there. Who else have we got on the bench? No more new boys. So we'll give it 10 minutes and probably bring on either Bradford or Wilkes. Probably for Jans, who looks like he's struggling a little bit for fitness. I think he was away at the World Cup over the summer, so he's a bit tired. And we've got that goal. Gilberto's put us 1-0 up. And I don't want to get too overexcited. I know it's only the Community Shield, but we are outplaying Chelsea. This is positive stuff. We've just got to be able to do it week in, week out. But this is an encouraging start. I'm getting excited. I was a little bit worried bringing in so many players that we'd mess up the system, but actually looking at it, we've just kind of brought in a new midfield and nothing else has really changed, certainly not going forward. Ayrton's not having a very good game at all, but we don't have anyone on the bench who can come on with him. Jans is playing really well. I actually might take Koulibaly off. We'll bring Bradford on. Would these two like to swap? Yeah, why not? Let's do that. Make Bradford our box-to-box midfielder. That's where he played pretty much all of last season, so he's used to doing it. Right, we need to not let Chelsea score now. I haven't seen Carles yet. Does that mean he's not playing? Because if that's the case, it's less exciting that we're beating them because they've not got their main man on. Ortega's through, and he's made it 2-0. There you go. That's something we didn't have at any point last season. We've brought another striker on, and he's actually scored a goal. We might have a proper backup striker finally. And that's a lovely little finish from Ortega. How has he not played for Spain yet? I don't understand. There you go. We're 2-0 up against Chelsea now. And look at those stats. We have absolutely battered them. Do you reckon we can win the league? Oh, let me know in the comments if you actually think it's a possibility. Off the back of this, I'm going to try not to get too excited, but it's getting hard not to now. Oh, there you go. We've won the Community Shield. We've beaten Chelsea 2-0 at Wembley. And more important than the result, we've actually completely outplayed them as well. That is exciting stuff. Right, as mentioned at the start, this was the first part of a double upload, so we are going to be back later on today with the first two league games of the season. Home to Derby and away against Liverpool. We're going to know a lot more about our chances after those two games, certainly. So make sure you pop a like on the episode. Let's get us to 100 likes as soon as possible. If it hits 100 before 9 o'clock, the episode will come out then. So make sure you like it. Subscribe so you don't miss out on all that stuff as well. And thank you very much for watching.